I just voted. I did cast a vote for Jill Stein and Butch Ware for president. And I wanted to take this moment to capture at this snapshot in time what my thinking is currently on the election and why I voted for Jill Stein and Butch Ware. And if you're a liberal and you want to yell at me or give me some argument for why what I did was stupid or wrong or bad, you can go ahead. I promise you I've heard it. Whatever your argument is, whatever you have to say, I've gotten that argument hundreds of times in my comments. But by all means, leave those comments because they will help me out in the algorithm. But I promise you I'm still going to disagree with you. And here's why, if you're curious and you want to know. As a young person, I was a staunch and proud Democrat. I was often appalled by Democratic policies, even in my high school and college years. But I firmly believed that there was possibility to pull the Democratic Party to the left, that through grassroots organizing, we could shape the Democratic Party into something that could deliver solutions on climate change and socialist improvements to the daily lives of people in the US. I believe the Democrats could be reformed through progressive pressure into a party that would create a more equitable, just, and sustainable world. And I worked very hard electorally for numerous candidates, including Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders during both of his presidential campaigns, Wendy Davis during her campaign in Texas. But instead, what has happened is the Democratic Party has become a fascist party. The top leaders of the Democratic Party now do and say things and support policies that are examples of the most extreme forms of fascism the world has ever seen since the Nazi regime. Committing genocide of hundreds of thousands of people is fascism in its most extreme expression. And that is what the Democratic Party is currently doing and promising to continue doing. The Democratic Party is also arming a coming genocide of hundreds of millions of people through climate change because of their unwavering support of fracking and the fossil fuel industries. I do think there was a time where, while politics have always been beholden to super wealthy interests in the US, since the Supreme Court decision of Citizens United in 2010 allowed unlimited corporate campaign spending, basically, billionaires and corporations can pay politicians any amount of money, any hundreds of millions of dollars to do what they want. Ever since that happened, the impact of public opinion on policy is virtually nil. That's not just me saying that. A Princeton study has found public opinion now has a near zero impact on US law. You are not going to be able to push Kamala or any Democrats to the left. It's simply, there's not a connection between what you think and feel and how the Democratic or the Republican Party will behave in positions of power. How they will behave is determined by what will make the greatest short-term profits for billionaires. And that includes fossil fuel manufacturers and weapons manufacturers. And there's a lot of money to be made in mass murdering people and in dooming the climate to 3 and 4 and 5 degrees of global warming by the end of the century, which means catastrophic loss of life in the hundreds of millions. Now, liberals want to be good people and want to make the world a better place by and large. I believe this. I don't think that y'all want to be genociders. You don't want to be voting for genocide. You don't want to be voting for the heat death of the planet. But y'all are always telling me to be realistic. You be realistic. That is what you're voting for in voting for the Democratic Party. That is how the Biden administration has behaved and how Kamala Harris has promised she will behave. Those are the policies that you are supporting in voting for them. And if the Democrats win on those policies, then what we have in the US is 2 far-right fascist parties. That actually scares me more than just one far-right fascist party being in power and one party that is representing 50 roughly percent of the country that has learned a lesson that fascism is a red line, that genocide is a red line, that maybe climate is a red line, and that they have to not be fascist if they want to get power. Allowing the Democrats to win by becoming fascists is worse to me than the Republicans winning this election and half of the country realizing, oh shit, we can't hold on to power. We can't hold on to whatever it is, the things that you're clinging to as Democrats that you want. We're not going to get those things unless we also don't do genocide and don't do fracking. And look, I don't think the Democratic Party is actually reformable. I don't think they're going to learn a lesson by losing this election, not the party leaders. I think they're a fucking lost cause. But I think that the roughly 50% of the country that has been voting for Democrats all their lives, given a little more time and opportunity, perhaps, it's a fool's hope, but it's the only hope I see, just perhaps they can realize that the Democrats have sold them out completely, that the Democrats are a far-right fascist party, and we need to rally around and build power with a party that's actually for the people. And I'm seeing the best candidate for doing that is the Green Party. And I've been very impressed by Jill Stein and Butch Ware throughout this election. I've watched interviews with them. I've read about their policies. I think that they are so much more in line with my politics than any other politician I've ever been able to actually cast a ballot for, like I did today. And if you want to, you can come in my comments and say that like Putin's bought them, or that, you know, what's the other one? Oh, that Raytheon like invested in them because some employee of Raytheon donated to her campaign. And this is how Open Secret reports it. These are liberal talking points. These are, you know, talking points of a Democratic smear campaign. I'm not compelled by them. My politics are revolutionary. I think we need revolutionary, radical transformation of all of our economic, global, social, political organization systems if we're going to survive another century. But I see building third-party power as one possible step towards doing that. It is a potential peaceful revolutionary route to have a third party. Regardless of who wins the election, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, though, the real absolute work of saving the world from the coming genocide of hundreds of millions of people through climate change starts it continues the day after the election. Like, no matter who wins, we cannot go to sleep on that day. We have to start ramping up, spreading liberatory education, spreading climate education, spreading anti-genocide education, and demanding a fucking future for our kids and our grandkids. So that's what you will see me doing the day after the election, regardless of who wins. And I think part of my work will be to continue supporting the Green Party moving forward, because, you know, I think it is a powerful way to disrupt the duopoly. I think Jill Stein and Butch Ware have managed to break through the shutout of alternative voices in this duopoly, alternative political voices. And I think that's really potentially powerful and could be a vehicle for even more radical change than just having a third party, which is required. I mean, from where I'm standing, from everything I know about climate change, it is required to revolutionize our political systems and our economic systems, or we're all going to die from climate change, period. Third parties might be a way to get to an even more radical place. And that is why I'm throwing my lot in with building third party power. And one more thing is, like, y'all, 0.06% of the US population actually decides who's president, because of, you know, a few undecided voters in swing states are the only people whose votes count. Like, I'm in Texas. My friends are like hysterically furious at me for not voting for Kamala. Texas is never going to Kamala. So it's hilarious to me that liberals are always telling me to be strategic when y'all aren't strategic at all, or even seemingly aware how the electoral college works. If you're not an undecided voter in a swing state, then your vote essentially doesn't matter for president. You might as well support the third party that actually aligns with your values, because if they get 5% of the vote, they get $60 million in funding to spread their message for the next election.